Hi friends, many people in India have blindly promoted a very famous finance rule called 50-30-20. This is a bullshit rule because it does not work for Indians, and I will walk you through some of those reasons in this video. But more importantly, if you're following this rule of 50-30-20, you are not likely to become financially independent anytime sooner. So this rule was given by a US senator called Elizabeth Warren back in 2005 in her book called All Your Worth. As per this rule, 50% of your after-tax income should be spent on your needs such as roti, kapda, makan and insurance. And 30% of your after-tax income can be spent on your wants such as gadgets, holidays, hobbies, etc. And the remaining 20% of your after-tax income should be saved and invested in stuff like mutual funds, stocks, property, etc. Now, Elizabeth came up with reason for people living in US because of certain reasons that are not going to play out for Indians, and let me give you one of those reasons. So in America, education from kindergarten to 12th standard is absolutely free. In fact, 1.3 trillion US dollars is spent by state government and local government to fund this education. 87% of American kids go to public schools, state schools. So parents in US spend zero money on their kids' education from 0 to 12. And therefore, Americans can very well afford to spend 30% of their money on their wants such as hobbies, vacation, etc. On the other hand, we Indians do not send our kids to government schools. Not because we don't want to, because Indian government spends close to 1/10 of the money that the US spends on education, while the population of India is 4 times more than the US population. So naturally, the standard of education for our kids is not what people get in US. And therefore, we are forced to send our kids to private schools. And nowadays, to send your kids to a private school in India, you need to minimum spend 10,000 to 20,000 rupees per month per kid. So if you have 2 kids, then 20,000 to 40,000 per month for kids' education. And if I forecast this number for 12 years of horizon, you are going to end up spending 28 lakhs to 56 lakh rupees on just your kids' education from 1 to 12th standard. Therefore, spending 30% of our money on our wants does not make any sense in Indian context. Let's forget about Americans for a minute and let me take you to China. So Chinese people are really good in managing their money, and their secret rule that they use is 10:1. Very famous rule in China. What this rule simply means is that if you're earning 100 rupees, then you can afford to spend 10 rupees from your pocket. Now, this is practically possible in India for people who are ultra wealthy. People who are earning 10 lakh rupees per month, they can afford to spend 1 lakh rupees because living on 10% of your income is only possible if you have extremely high income. Here in India, most people earn somewhere around between 50,000 rupees per month to 1 lakh rupees per month. So how do we manage this tiny salary or the income, but we still be financially healthy? This is what I'm going to talk about. So to manage our tiny income, we need to learn 4 very important financial concepts. Number 1, Japanese secret of money management called Kakeibo. Number 2, secret of IT project management called RAG method. Number 3, my simple rule that I am trying to use from a number of years is 50-25-25. And concept number 4, which is where to then exactly invest this tiny salary so that you always remain financially healthy. Let me walk you through all those 4 concepts in a very simple language. So first is Japanese money management technique called Kakeibo. Now, Kakeibo literally means household financial ledger. Motoko Hani, a famous journalist from Japan, back in 1904 invented this methodology called Kakeibo. As part of this methodology, Japanese men will give all their income to their wives. I don't know how many of Indians are doing that, but if you're doing that, let me know in the comments. Now, what wives will do with this money is they will categorize every single spend that they are making throughout the month into 4 broad buckets. So they will literally write down every single spend in a physical ledger called Kakeibo and will categorize it into 4 main buckets. Number 1, needs. Number 2, wants. Number 3, cultural spend. And number 4, unexpected spend. Now, this gives them very good handle of where the hell this money is going. And this becomes very important for Indians because we are spending a hell lot of money using UPI, not having any clue where all our money is going. So what we need to do is to follow this methodology, get a physical notebook and start categorizing your spend into 4 key buckets. But I'm going to take this one step further and break down these 4 categories into something that is more relevant to us. So first bucket, that is needs, we are going to break it down into 6 subcategories of spend: rent, food, clothing, travel for work, utility for bills, and insurance. Just in case you're wondering why insurance is included in needs, please be aware that medical inflation in India is right now at all-time high, running at 15%, twice as the retail inflation. On an average, Indians are getting heart attacks 10 years before Americans. So without having insurance, your entire financial plan will be wiped out in one single hospital bill. So according to me, health insurance is a basic need. It's a necessity that we need to have in our needs bucket. If you have not yet taken health insurance, Ditto is an excellent insurance platform provider because Ditto is a no spam insurance platform. It is backed by Zerodha, so you can trust this platform. And also you can get a 30 minutes free consultation from a Ditto's expert that will understand your personal needs and will guide you through various insurance plans to select the right insurance plans for your specific needs. Simply click on the link provided in the description, enter your personal details, choose a convenient date and time, and a Ditto expert will call you to understand your needs and will give you the right insurance plan. So in the needs bucket, we have got these 6 broad subcategories. Now let's move to bucket number 2, which is wants. So within wants, I want you to categorize your spend into 4 subcategories. Number 1, hobbies. Number 2, passions. Number 3, getting wasted, which is your alcohol spend, your cigarettes or whatnot. And number 4 is upskilling, extremely important. Third bucket, that is cultural, I want you to break it down into 3 subcategories. Number 1 is festival expenses. Durga Puja, Diwali, Holi, Christmas, whatever, wherever you're spending money during the festival expenses, all of that need to go into this bucket. Second subcategory is donations. So people make a lot of donations. I'm hoping you are also doing your bit to the society. And if you're doing that, please tag that into the donation sub bucket. And third, most important is all your family rituals. So if you're giving a lot of shaguns to your sisters, your brothers, or whoever it is, please make note of all of that money because every single rupee makes a big difference in your financial plan. And lastly, fourth bucket, which is unexpected. There is no subcategories here because unexpected by its very definition means unexpected. You don't know where these expenses are coming from. So broadly, these are the 4 buckets that you need to start writing down all your expenses and categorizing into these 4 buckets. Now, why are we doing that? For that, let me move to very, very important second concept called financial rule of 50-25-25. What is this 50-25-25? This simply means that 50% of your after-tax income, the in-hand income, you can spend across these 4 buckets. So your maximum limitation is going to be 50%. 25% of your after-tax income needs to be invested for short-term goals. I will talk about it. And remaining 25% needs to be spent or invested into meeting your long-term goals. Again, I will talk about that in detail. But let me now first handle 50% of your after-tax income. How do we really spend this into 4 big buckets? Because immediately question you will have is that, Rahul, if I am earning 50,000 rupees, you're asking me to spend only 25,000 rupees in my needs, in my wants, in my cultural spend, in my unexpected spend. How the hell I am going to manage that? For this, let me actually walk you through concept number 3, which is what we predominantly use in IT project management. I've been an IT project manager for 16 plus years now, and we use a very powerful concept which is called RAG status. People who are in IT will understand this RAG. So what does this RAG actually mean? R stands for red, A stands for amber, and G stands for green. Consider this as a traffic light. So red means stop, amber means wait, and green means go. Now let us assume that your salary is 50,000 rupees. So I'm saying 50% of your 50,000 rupees, that is 25,000 rupees, is the maximum you can spend across these 4 buckets. But if you're saying that 25,000 rupees is too less, what you need to do is categorize your spend into RAG method. Red simply means those subcategories which are not important for you and you do not want to spend your money and you are making that conscious choice. Green simply means that you really want to spend money on those categories because those are important for your lifestyle. And yellow means that you have little choice. You can't do much about it. So this is the method we are going to use, which is going to bring prioritization on your 25,000 rupees of spend every month. Let me give you a simple walkthrough of what RAG means to me in a very, very simple way. For example, in the needs bucket, Personally, for me, rent is a big red for me. I've been spending very little money on rent. So for example, back in 2010, I came to London and I lived in a studio flat for 3 years. And that studio flat used to cost me roughly £700 per month. And that time my salary was close to £3,200 per month after tax. So I was living on rent that is less than 20% of my take-home salary. Many people at that time who were with me were living in 2 BHK house that was costing them around 1500 to 1600 rupees per month. Basically 50% of their salaries were going into the rent. Maybe it was important for them to live in a 2 BHK house at that time. For me, it was not that important. Another red for me is clothing. I hardly spend any money on clothes. Right now, for example, I'm wearing this t-shirt which is only 500 rupees. I wear shorts which I'm very comfortable. Of course, you can't see them right now, but my point is simple that these are my two reds and I'm absolutely comfortable not spending my money on rent as well as on clothing. Now, travel for work, utility bills and insurance, for me, these are my yellows that I can't really help. I have to spend money on these. But when it comes to food, this is where my green is. I spend a good money on my food. So for example, I don't know how many of you eat almonds, but I eat almonds every day. I only eat Mamra almonds. I don't know how many of you know about the quality of Mamra almonds, but they cost like 2,500 rupees per kg, premium quality. So again, on food, I do not compromise a lot. That is my green. So what you need to do is, from this 25,000 rupees, you need to find your own rag for the needs column. If I look at my wants column, then I spend a lot of money on my hobbies. One of them is traveling. I travel a lot. In fact, in last few years, I've been to 13 plus countries and I've taken a lot of cruises and it's so much of fun. That experience is what I crave for and I spend my money into that particular bucket. My point is very simple. You can easily live on 50% of your income, and for that what you need to do is use this Japanese method of Kakeibo, noting down all your expenses into these buckets, and secondly, put in this rag status so that you identify consciously which are your reds, which are your ambers and which are your greens, and try and prioritize your spend. So far, if you're liking this video, a humble request for you to hit the like button. Let me know in the comments a simple thank you and the fact that you're liking this kind of content. I will come up with more such content for your use at zero cost. Let me now move to fourth very important concept that will take you to the path of financial freedom, which is where to invest your remaining 50% salary. So we have to divide this remaining 50% salary or income into two broad buckets. One is 25% of this needs to be saved and invested for short-term goals. Remaining 25% needs to be saved and invested for your long-term goals. But before you start any investments, please make sure that you have emergency fund. I created a full video on emergency fund. You will find this on my channel. This is a modern approach for you to plan for your emergency fund. Please do not make the mistake of investing without having your emergency fund. Now, coming back to 25% of your money being invested in short-term goals. What are short-term goals? Short-term goals are all your goals that you want to achieve in the next 5 years. For example, it could be that you want to buy a house in the next 5 years. For example, you want to get married in the next 5 years. For example, you want to go for a honeymoon in the next 5 years. For example, you want to take a holiday abroad. It could be anything, but as long as it is within the next 5 years. And long-term goals are those which are beyond 5 years. For example, you want to plan for your retirement. You want to plan for your kids' higher education. For example, you're saving for your kids' wedding. For example, you're saving for inheritance that you want to leave. And lastly, for example, you want to also donate to charities. It could be anything as long as it is beyond 5 years. Now, this video is getting really long. What I really want to do is let me know in the comments if you would like me to give you a very good framework of which are the instruments you need to invest this 25% money for short-term goals and which are the instruments that you must look to invest your remaining 25% salary to achieve your long-term goals, which are going to take you to the path of financial freedom. Let me know in the comments part 2 and I'll be happy to come up with part 2. Last but not least, if you still do not have health insurance, all of this plan may be wiped out in a single hospital bill. So make sure you have health insurance and check out the link that I've provided for Ditto Insurance Platform, an excellent insurance platform. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in my next video. Until then, keep rocking.